This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
And now, your host, Kyle Yeomans.
Today is Thursday, February 13th, and we are officially 70 days away from the NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Welcome into the Draft Show, presented by Miller Lite, the only beer, the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time, and it's getting close to draft time. We've got Tommy Yarish, Brian Broaddus, Vach Lombardi, with Jasmine Marshall running everything in the back. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. Shout out Jazz, going to do a great job of putting up all of the graphics and all the different things along the way, filling in for Beamer today. It's an interesting time now, Brian. We've talked about the coaching staff and the waiting moments. We haven't necessarily addressed now that the staff has been placed across the board.
Sure.
So I kind of want to hit that early and talk about what type of impact will this group have on the NFL draft, if any. Maybe it doesn't change a whole lot because of the system and the accumulative staff that Will McClay has put together over time. But what type of moment are we in with a coaching change and then, of course, 70 days out?
What you got to think about with when you have a new staff is you're in a situation where the new staff is trying to get to know you and you're trying to get to know the staff, the new staff. So I remember with Bill Parcells when he came in, it was more about, hey, I'm going to let you guys run the draft because I'm trying to learn you. Here are the type of players I like. These are the guys that I want to work with. You kind of get an idea of like how they want to, the type of player that they want. And talk to some people in the organization. They're right now, they were waiting on that staff to come together. And now they have an idea of who they've got. And now these coaches could tell them, hey, this is the type of offensive lineman I want. This is the type of defensive tackle. These are the traits I need in my cornerback here. So I think that everybody has to be, on point with that. But the coaches would be really, really, really smart if they just allow these scouts to put this board together. And this is going to have to come from the top with Brian Schottenheimer. He's going to have to say, all right, guys, coaches, these guys are going to run it this first year. The second year, we'll make some adjustments from there. But they're clearly now, with the staff whole, they're able to situate and figure out the type of player that they need.
And we've talked about it before on the show, and you've mentioned how coaches here do have a say, and they certainly have throughout the time here. And Will McClay and his staff does a great job of compiling the boards and putting the prospects on there to have the conversation in the first place. But Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, even Mike Zimmer last year, I mean, guys have been known to have their input. Kellen Moore, when he was here, on the draft board. How much do you feel like seeing this staff come together with Eberflus on the defensive side, a veteran defensive coordinator who's run some drafts in his own right? You've got Clayton Adams, a first-time offensive coordinator with a first-time head coach, Nick Sorensen, special teams coordinator with some defensive background. Mm-hmm. With the coordinators put together, how much influence do you think they'll have?
I think they'll have some. And the Joneses always allow with the head coach really has the most. But the one thing that Will McClay will do is that he will get the opinion of the coaches, he'll get the opinion of the scouts. See, Will doesn't understand which one of these coaches can really evaluate. And so you have to be really, really careful with that. If you put too much stock into what a coach says, you don't know if this coach is one of those guys that's actually going to go and do the work. Or is he a guy that's going to get on the phone and talk to his buddies? Is he going to go to workouts? And is he going to talk to his buddies? Is he going to get influenced that way? You have some coaches on the staff that have not been in the National Football League. You have some collegiate coaches. So it is going to be very, very new and eye-opening to them as well for how Will manages them and how they come to the decisions of their players.
How much have you kind of seen that in your own study so far of what this coaching staff's put together?
Well, I think when you look at the staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball, the identity is very clear. They want to run the football, and that's where they're going to start everything offensively, is establishing the run game so that it can open up the passing game, right? When we talked to Dak Prescott the other day, he was telling us that, hey, when we get to running the ball, being a little bit more consistent, I've always enjoyed play action, and that's where he's been. When Dak Prescott is at his best, it's when they're running play action. When you look at his career, he's completed 67% of his play action passes, 8,524 yards, 55 touchdowns, just 13 interceptions. So being able to get a guy in the, I think in the first 3 or so rounds to be a play action back for you who can take the ball, you can work off of him in the play action game, I think is going to be what's best for this offense. I think that's what the Cowboys are tipping their hand to. Now, on the defensive side with Matt Eberflus, it's going to be a zone coverage team. Typically, the linebackers in his system are very well. And when you got a guy like Micah Parsons, they're going to get after the quarterback. So it's stuff that all marries very well together. But I think that defensive backfield in the secondary is going to be something to watch in terms of what they go after in this draft, just because there are certainly some guys in this class that can fit in an Eberflus system very well.
How do you feel about that as it all fits together?
Man, Kyle, I won't lie to you, bro. I don't know nothing about these coaches. I don't know a thing about them. I never heard of them.
Well, then what would you want to see? If you don't know anything about it, what would you want to see?
You know, just draft-wise, right? I'm just watching players, watching players.
Yep.
But just to add to what we're saying right now, right? If there's anything that I noticed about the Cowboys when they get new coaches and they go and get these new, players, whether it be draft and all this free agents, do you feel like they lean towards the defensive coaches more? Like when Nolan first got here, right? I was like, man, we've signed a lot of defensive guys. We've drafted a lot of defensive guys. Same for Quinn, right? I was like, damn, boy, Quinn must be the head coach. We've signed and drafted everybody for Quinn, and offense to get a handful of guys here and there. So let me add that to the convo, right? Because I ain't got nothing else for the convo. Do you think that we're gonna go like in that way? Like maybe we'll get the running back. Maybe we'll go wide receiver, but everything else is probably gonna be defense.
I think it's going to be Will running this draft. I think it's going to be Will putting this thing together. I think that Brian Schottenheimer is going to do it in that way for him. I think that it's going to be real important for these coaches to understand, how does this work with the Dallas Cowboys? Don't get in the way of that. This team has done a nice job of drafting over the years, and a lot of it has to do with Will McClay and the way that he sets the board. So I would be, if I was a coach on the staff, a new coach, I would keep my mouth shut. When they ask me my opinion, I would give my opinion. But I would do my work, I would do my homework, and make sure that when they do ask me a question, I'm prepared. But if I was a coach on the staff, I would learn as much as I could right now about how things work, because it is different from anywhere else. Some of these coaches have been in recruiting meetings and things like that, so they understand how personnel is talked about. But this is a whole different ball of wax for some of these guys, and I think it's going to be from up top with Brian Schottenheimer. He's going to have to set the tone for his coaches and say, listen, hey, I've been with these guys. Let's trust these scouts. And then they will find a way to pick us some players.
I love the way you outline that, because it's a chance for all of this to mesh together, and that chance starts right now. Yeah. You don't have to wait until the combine. You don't have to wait until pro days for all of that to kind of piece together. So this is a really crucial time for this coaching staff. Now, when you take the elements of the zone defense, let's start on that side of the ball. Take the elements of the zone defense that you're talking about and what type of system Matt Eberflus is going to bring to the table, and you marry that with this draft board of prospects that we have in front. I'm looking at cornerback as a spot that might be a little bit more of a need than we anticipated early, because of the health of Trayvon Diggs is a question mark. Saw last year the revolving door at cornerback, and the one steady hand is Jordan Lewis. Well, guess what? He's an unrestricted free agent. You may not have J. Lou going into next year, and you've invested in that position recently. But out of this draft class, where would you feel comfortable taking a cornerback, especially if it's one of those top 3 picks?
Top 3 picks,
first round picks. Yeah,
go ahead
first
and
3 rounds.
Go ahead and tell him 12, Ach. Go ahead.
12th overall.
Go ahead and tell him 12.
Tommy Yaris, Jade Barron. Shouts out to your Texas.
My guy.
But I actually think, though, Kyle, you don't have to go rounds 1, 2, and 3 with this. Now, we don't have a 4, and that sucks. Every time we have a conversation, we don't have a 4.
It hurts every single time. Yeah.
But, you
got Jonathan Mingo.
But me and, Brian are just watching film, and we watched Kansas yesterday, right? Yeah. Kansas defense. And we're watching 2 Kansas corners that play a ton of zone over there, Melo and Kobe.
Kobe Bryant.
They're not basketball players, but Melo Dyson and Kobe Bryant, right? And both those guys, they play heavy zone, and they're ball hawk kind of guys, right? Sure. So if you're looking for corner, I don't even think you have to, bend to go first or second round. You can wait till round 5 to, most likely get a guy. Zay Alexander from LA, Brian's LSU Tigers. Yeah. I know they get whooped all the time, but they play a lot of zone. There's a lot of length over there. He can run around a little bit. There's options.
You think he's there after the fifth or fourth?
The more corners you watch, the more guys just kind of bump down the list a little bit. I got a ton of 1s, 2s, and 3s, and I'm like, damn, Alexander.
Where did you have Alexander?
I had him at 3, but now I got him late 4.
Wow.
I think that if you look at the two Kansas kids, I think that they're right there with each other. Dotson and also too with Bryant. Right. And I think Alexander's right in that mix as well.
I have Kobe and Melo touching tags at 16 and 17 overall, CB 16 and 17. And then I'm looking at Alexander. I must be higher on Alexander than you guys are. I have him as a late second. I don't know. I like the length. I like the ability to. Let me pull up my scouting report. Sure. We talked through it a little bit last time. He has a mean streak to him. Controlled the boundary, fluid hips, great length. Frame would fit well in every scheme is what I put. I think he would play better in zone than he would in man. And I like the length that he could play at press man at the line of scrimmage too. So
he lacks catch-up speed. That's the real problem.
That's true.
Yeah,
not a flyer.
There's going to be a couple of cornerbacks in this draft that are not going to run very well. And all of a sudden, you're going to go, okay.
What do you think he hits?
Well, I think he's somewhere around the 4th round myself.
Yeah.
I mean, because
what about 40 time?
40 time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think he's going to be in the mid 4 or 5s. If I was Alexander, I wouldn't run at the combine. I would just wait till the pro day. And traditionally, LSU's pro day is later than everyone else's. It's actually closer to like the 1st of April.
Yeah.
So they give their guys an opportunity to be able to get ready to run. And so if I was Alexander, I would not. I'd do all the drills and stuff like that, but I would not venture to try and run
downhill.
I think an interesting case study in this corner class that at least that I've seen, I don't know about you guys in terms of where he is Wanye Thomas's brother.
Yeah.
Azariah Thomas from Florida State, 6'2", 198 pounds. Where do you guys stand on him?
Second round.
I have a third.
I have a third too.
Yeah.
I have a third too. I thought he was okay at the Senior Bowl. I wasn't wowed, Kyle.
I was expecting him to take a leap.
Yeah,
at the Senior
I was
Bowl.
expecting a little bit better. Maybe it was just some of some of these guys when you go to the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, it's not their setting, right? And they do better outside of those kinds of settings, and they play better in 11 on 11, which
football film is much better for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the case for a lot of guys. And I've said this before. The corners, I think, have the toughest assignment, maybe outside of offensive linemen at the Senior Bowl, because they're faced up with these one-on-one drills. They're put on an island, and it's either figure it out or you've had a bad week, right? Yeah. And I think there was maybe one guy. I mean, there were a couple of guys that stood out. I thought Upton Stout from Western Kentucky raised his stock a little bit at the Senior Bowl. Maxwell Hairston, the Kentucky corner, had a good Senior Bowl process. But for the most part, every other guy that I'm looking at, Darian Porter out of Iowa State, Thomas out of Florida State, Jalen Smith from USC, they had ups and they had downs.
Yeah. Porter's interesting, though, Kyle, because he's a tall, long, can't really turn that well guy, but he's like fast. And so in real life, he may be a zone guy for you. And they do all this all this one-on-one cover stuff at these bowls. And even on film, he does that. But in my mind, I'm like, hey, you can run and you're tall. Go be a cover 3 guy, right? Yeah. Back to the sideline, deep thirds, bail out. Like, I think he'll be much better there. So that's another problem we got to think about, too, is that these colleges will do one thing, but when they get to the league, they may have a whole nother idea for these guys.
How much do you play a factor when you're scouting these corners and you're going in, you're looking at length, but, I mean, that's almost the plus side length that could hurt your draft stock because you don't move as well. Mm-hmm. I think Porter moves exceptionally well for being 6'4" or whatever he ended up being measured at.
Sure. You just got to use your imagination. You just have to use your imagination. Like, Barron is a fantastic example of that. Like, they move him all over the defense, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to move that much in real life, right?
Well, Barron's 5'11". I mean, that's different than 6'4".
I think he'll be a fantastic nickel. I think he'll do some cool outside things. I don't see a whole bunch of safety in his future. I don't see a whole bunch of linebacker in his future. So in real life, if you just narrow these guys down to one job, they'll be totally different. So that's what I had to do, right? So if you go into it, man, I saw some Jade Barron tape, and he was at a free. And I didn't really like him at free safety too much. You have to use your he's not going to be there, right? Just imagine him at nickel corner, most likely. He's probably going to chase people around, play on both sides of the field, and that's where you take those reps, but just get rid of all the other reps.
And I'll add this. Sorry, Brian.
No, go ahead.
But in the Matt Eberflus defense, when you look at what he did in Chicago with Kyler Gordon at that nickel spot, nickels tend to have a lot of success when the Matt Eberflus defense is playing at their best. So if they want to approach it as Jordan Lewis, bring him back, then that's going to be huge for Jordan Lewis because I think he would flourish in that kind of system. If Jordan Lewis, as an unrestricted free agent, decides to go elsewhere, then do you take a Jahdae Barron and say, hey, this is our nickel guy? This is our nickel guy. But is 12 too rich for him? Is it would be the question.
If you like the player, take him at 12.
I mean,
if you like the player, to me, all I heard was Brian Branch with this kid, and he's not Brian Branch. He's more Trent McDuffie from Kansas City than he is Brian Branch. So people were talking about, even my son who goes to school at Texas, and he's like, Dad, you got to watch this kid play. And then you watch him play, and he is the cover aspect, the things like that are just outstanding with him. The ability to carry some routes, the quickness, the ability to turn, the ball hawking, all that. Brian Branch, to me, is like a linebacker guy, a safety guy, can play at the corner.
He's a little bigger, too.
Bigger. I think Barron's just more of a corner than he is that guy that can do all the things that we just described.
It's an interesting case because you've got Barron, Hunter. I've heard Will Johnson. I know we talked about him just briefly the other day. And then the other guy that I have in the first is Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. I haven't heard much about him. What do you think about Amos?
I thought he had a okay Senior Bowl.
Yeah,
I thought he was good. I just think that is, again, it's a tough environment for corners because you don't really get a great gauge, or safeties, defensive backs in general.
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it. It's not great because it's so much one-on-one, and like Tez Johnson, for example, at Oregon. These guys just don't stand a chance one-on-one because he's so fast. But Amos is another one of those guys who I would think is deserving of that grade. I've got a second on him, but sometimes it's just the tough environment.
He's a loose-hipped guy, and when you watch him play, especially if you watch the Georgia game, and Beck doesn't go at him at all. I mean, they are worried about how well this guy plays man coverage. You put this guy in press, he is going to be hard to get away from. He's a willing tackler. He's physical. There's a lot to like about this kid. And again, I don't have the Senior Bowl measurements on him, but 6'1", 190 is what I've been working off of. But this kid tracks the ball. He plays press. He's a fluid moving player. Somebody's going to fall in love with this kid. But he's got an interesting background.
Yep.
Because he went to school at Louisiana, and then he went to school at Alabama, and now he's at Ole Miss. And you kind of wonder, okay, what's going on there? Why the double transfer? We see guys going from one place to another, but why the double transfer? Why leave in Alabama, too, is another thing you kind of have to ask yourself. So dig in on that. Might have been
a coaching staff.
Well, dig in on that, but also this guy's an outstanding football player.
He was a 6'0", 3'8" at the Senior Bowl. So 6 foot 3/8.
Okay.
195 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 32-inch arms, wingspan, 6'5", 3/8. So
he's he's
got some good measurables.
His tape is really, really.
Where do you have him? Second?
I have him second round. Yeah.
See, I have him late first. I have him like right at the end of my first round picks or first round grades, but I'm not going to move him. I like him.
Kyle got a lot of first round grades.
I've got 16 right now, which is more than I thought I would have. Yeah. And maybe that's me just being on. I'm usually a very optimistic person, and maybe that's bad for me as a scout. But I think 16 grades is right around where I'm at. I don't think I'm going to take any away. Yeah. Like Amos, I'm not going to move him out of the first. I believe that the fluidity, the movement, the measurables, and the tape that I saw. I watched him against LSU and South Carolina. I didn't even need the Kentucky tape. I watched it anyways, and all of those sold me across the board. So I'm going to keep Amos where he's at. Is it Amos or Amos?
Amos, I believe.
Is it Amos?
Okay. He's Adrian Amos' son, right? Am I wrong about that?
Oh,
man.
If you're right about that, then that's going to be something on my scouting report, and we'll put that in the Draft magazine. All right, when we come back, it's time to do a little Twitter on the 20. We've got some great questions lined up from the fans out there talking about the NFL Draft as we're 70 days away. More of the Draft Show right after this.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision and tired of those contacts and glasses, don't throw a Hail Mary. Go where I went. Laser Care Eye Center, the official LASIK partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Drew, thank you so much for trusting us with your vision correction procedure. At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell them Drew sent you. Hood hood.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Gentlemen, love is in the air. It's in the air. It's almost Valentine's Day. Have you got your Valentine's some presents already?
Valentine's is a scam, so don't ask me this right before you read this paper.
Yeah, well, it's not a scam, and you gotta spend all your money at the Cowboys Pro Shop. So is the perfect gift for Valentine's Day. It is at the Cowboys Pro Shop. Whether you're shopping for your other half or for yourself, you can maybe go get yourself something, Botch, from the Cowboys Pro Shop. Show yourself a little bit of love. Find the freshest tees, hoodies, and more. Visit the nearest Pro Shop or online at shop.dallascowboys.com. A Fanatics experience.
Yeah, man.
That didn't go the way I anticipated.
Shop at the Cowboys Pro Shop, you know what I'm saying? Show yourself some love.
Yeah, there you go.
Buy all that stuff up.
Way to save it.
Nicely
done.
I don't work here. I'm a guest.
Yeah, you snuck in.
I snuck in. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Voch Lombardi, Brian Broaddus, Tommy Yarich. I'm Kyle Yeomans with Jasmine Marshall in the back about to press the
Twitter on the 20.
But
very quickly before we start Twitter on the 20, there's no relation between Trey Amos and Adrian Amos. I apologize for that.
So you were wrong.
I was wrong.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. That's first of many. That's okay.
I was going to say, yeah, not the first time, and certainly not the last.
If you're on this show long enough, you'll be wrong a lot.
That's right.
Yeah, that's very true. All right. Jerry in Ireland is going to get us started today. How about that? Across the pond. He said, Brian used to say, build around the quarterback to make him successful, right? Mm-hmm. That's a saying that you've used quite a few times. He wants to take a different approach. He wants to take the attitude toward Micah Parsons on the edge rusher spot. With that in mind, specific scheme aside, what would benefit Micah most in an ideal world from this draft class? And he listed a couple of options, but I want to open it up, and then we can maybe hit these options here in a minute. What would benefit Micah Parsons in this draft class?
We are looking for one tech. We are looking for pass rushers that can help him in the pass rush department, and we're looking for corners. I hope I ain't take everybody's answers, but I think that's just obvious.
Yeah, you just did. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He asked you for one thing, and you said 4.
But tell me why we need corners, though, bro.
Yeah, no. Let's elaborate.
You know what? The first thing that came to my mind was a pass rusher opposite. It's the first thing that came to my mind.
Interesting.
If you had somebody opposite of him that could kind of take some of the pressure, where we've seen in the past where if you have somebody to pair with a really good rusher, how it affects, that they can't do things protection-wise. They can't chip you. They can't slide to you. If you have somebody on the other side of Micah Parsons that could really, really rush, and there's some guys you're hopeful for. Sam Williams, I felt like that going into the season, there was a lot of talk about Sam Williams, and then we're all in training camp and watching a special teams period, and Sam Williams is now laying on the ground and no longer on your team. That way, helping you. But so
that was a huge loss.
I kind of feel like that having that pass rusher opposite him. I think the coverage aspect, like Voch says, though, I think is really, really important too. With that, if you could hold up on the back end and give Micah a second or two more, or an opportunity to rush or break somebody down, I think that would be very helpful to him as well.
So, Brian, let me ask you this, and we can just rebound off of that. So when you say get Micah a pass rushing partner, right?
Yeah.
How good do you want that dude to be? Do you just want like another body that can get pass rushing, or do you want like another dude like him?
I'll take your Ole Miss kid.
Okay.
I'll take
Princely Umama
Yellen.
Yeah, I'll take your guy there. I'll take Pierce too. I mean, now,
first I thought you were saying Nolan. I was like, wow, that was a change.
No, I'm looking for an edge. I mean, to me, I'm a big fan of Mike Green from Marshall, and so if it's somebody of that caliber type of a player, I think that's a huge help for Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I'm with you on Mike Green. I mean, him alongside Micah Parsons, I feel like would be fantastic. But I look at, if you're going to build around Micah Parsons, I'm leaning more towards, you want a talented secondary. You want somebody at the corner spot, at the safety spot, maybe later in the later rounds that can, like Brian said, give Micah Parsons that extra second or two, because really, I think Micah's proven up to this point in his career that regardless of who's on the defensive line with him, regardless of how good or maybe not as good as they'd want to be on the rest of the defensive line the Cowboys have been, he's still gotten his 12-plus sacks in the last 4 years. So that extra time or extra 2 seconds of time that it would take for Micah Parsons to get in the backfield, he's going to do it regardless of who's on the other side of him. So getting those coverage sacks and those guys who can cover for you downfield, and even when Micah Parsons doesn't get home, still be able to make a play on the ball or be in the area, try to break up passes, I think is valuable.
Do you think it'll be easier to bolster the coverage or to bolster the pass rush?
Pass rush.
Because what I'm thinking is like, all right, we can add a corner, but we've had a really good corner before. They just throw it to the other corner, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna fix coverage, you would have to fix
all of it.
3-4 people, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm watching the Eagles, you know what I'm saying? I just hate
Draft
to say
two.
that. You know what I'm saying? They just got a handful of guys in the, pass rush department. They go and draft a safety or two, and hey, they get the sack, you know what I'm saying?
They drafted two corners.
Chiefs all
With
day.
the nickel was huge for them. To get Maddox off the field was huge. Mitchell played at a very, very high level right off the jump. So they were very fortunate. That pass rush, though, I went back and watched the sacks that Mahomes suffered. There were like 3 different times, though, if he just had a decent pocket, there were plays down the field to Worthy that they just couldn't get the ball off. So pass rush is huge. But that secondary, the way that they cover, is made them a different team. They went from giving up a ton of points, a ton of yards last year, to being one of the best. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that second. They still got Blankenship and and Johns Gardner Johnson, and they probably need to upgrade there. But those corners, man, even Slay, they keep Slay out of the mix, and you should probably be attacking him more, but teams don't because the pass rush gets home.
Now, this is kind of along the same lines. Damian asked if there was one position or a player that could help the Cowboys, or that the Cowboys could target to help Matt Eberflus in his scheme and make that successful. What would that be? Would that be a lethal pass rusher again?
Yeah, but we drafted 12. So, if we'd have lost some more games, Mason Graham would do it.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Carter would do it.
Carter would be great.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay, well, then let me ask you this. This is a fan question. Let me preface it by that, so that way we can throw this on there.
Sure.
Would you trade the first-round pick, the number 12, to go get a guy that might have maybe once called Arlington, Texas home and has requested a trade from his specific team?
I don't think there's anybody on the board better than that player you're talking about. The edge there with that team in Ohio. But yeah, to me, that's what you have to evaluate. If you really, really want to make this, if you really, really want to help, you would say, okay, is there anybody on the board better than? And then if you say no, then go for it. If you feel like that at Ashton Genty or McMillan, or I think there's
somebody has a shot.
I think we all have names that we would not. Like Jeff Kavanaugh did like a trust the tape this morning, and it was Jeff gave me 4 blue chip names that he absolutely, if those guys were there, he would absolutely take those guys. Yeah. And I think we all, as we've done this process, would have 3 to 4 guys that we would say, okay, we're not trading a pick.
Yeah.
But I think everybody else is fair game. I think everybody else on that board.
Even if that's the case, and that player's on the board, would your 4 blue chip names go down to 1 or 2?
I think it's
tough, right?
Yeah, it's tough. But to me, I would love to see, man, if somehow one of your blue chip guys gets you, I'd love to be able to test that theory.
Yeah.
Because it would be very, very difficult for me, as much as I feel like that McMillan would help this team. Mm-hmm. So would that guy in Ohio.
You're darn right.
So that would test me. Now, to get the guy in Ohio, you would have to be able to give up other things along with it. If you're comfortable having him picking at 44, not having anything at 70, what's that number? 76.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable doing that and not having a 4, you've really much wiped yourself out of a draft. But you've got one of the best players in the National Football League. So you'd have to consider that.
So, Brian, Genty or this imaginary character that play football?
Yep. Fantasy football.
I would take the imaginary player.
Okay.
Tommy?
I'd agree with that.
Okay.
If Abdul Carter robbed the bank and he's at 12 for
I'll make the pick. I'll make that pick.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I would do that too.
Okay, so it's so you're drafting those 3 or 4 guys.
Blue chips.
Yeah.
But if it's not those 3 or 4 guys,
Make it happen.
then you're gonna go get that imaginary player.
Right.
Which
Could you do that draft weekend? Do you think that would be something you could wait on? I mean, you're playing a risk game.
Yeah, that's something you have to. To me, if you go on the clock with that, you might not get the value out of it you need. You might get, they might hold you up on stuff.
I think that random team would love to draft at 2 and 12.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think
probably
so,
the
too.
case.
Yeah.
All right. This one kind of pairs a couple questions together. We had a question about comp picks. What would the comp picks look like? I'm looking at it right now. This is from NFL.com. Projected compensatory picks for the Cowboys: 3 in round 5, 1 in round 6. And that's
Is that for 26?
That's for 25.
Oh, well, no. We know that. Right. What's the question? What's your...
What are you
asking? Why are we talking comp picks? Did I miss something?
No, they were just wondering what the comp picks were.
Oh, I thought they were.
3-5.
They haven't.
You were just explaining what it was. I was thinking, I thought you were trying to calculate them for
next
26.
No.
Okay,
No.
I was like,
This upcoming draft, because they haven't announced it yet. And
my apologies.
3 is the projected in round 5.
Right.
1 is in round 6.
Yeah.
That replaces Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biadasz, Tony Pollard, Tyron Smith, Dante Fowler Jr.
Gotcha.
So that's
okay.
what that would be.
There we go. I'm sorry.
But kind of pairing
I thought you
that
were projecting into 26. I'm like, what is he doing?
We're getting real after it now. The free agent hadn't even started yet. Cowboy Chuck, kind of along those same lines, said, would last year's 7th round picks of Nathan Thomas and Justin Rogers, where would they rank in this 2025 class based off of the guys you've seen so far? And does that affect how teams prioritize picks going into this draft, including those comp picks, the fact that you have a lot of those front loaded in the 5th?
Did you know Justin Rogers back on the team?
Yeah.
When the hell that happened?
It was like week 16, 17.
Towards the end of the year.
Like
I was like, what are you doing on the roster? Okay, cool. Okay,
Yeah, he was there.
so they asking if Auburn Justin
They're
Rogers
saying-
is in his class?
Yeah, like, do they think that, where do they rank in terms of it? And the answer here could just be that they were 7th round picks. They don't make them.
He'll be in the 7th somewhere. Yeah, he'll be in the 7th. But this is a class filled with one text that I'm a fan of.
They don't play a factor at all.
Man, I'm drafting.
So
I'm doubling down on one of those guys. Like if I could take a tackle in the 3rd round and then come back and get Jordan Phillips or something like that in the 5th, if he's there, I don't even know if he's gonna be there. But we just keep finding guys, right? Ty Robinson from Nebraska. We just keep finding, 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys. So like, man, even if you don't get tackle early, you can go tackle late. And I'm not thinking about Justin Rogers in that equation.
I'm a little interested. Like, why is there so much intrigue around Nathan Thomas?
The unknown. He's big.
Yeah,
he's a big body guy, and
there's 3 questions here about Nathan Thomas.
Cowboy fans love the backups, but they hate the superstars.
That's fair.
That's just what life is.
It's interesting.
Somebody rooting for Rico Gathers right now.
Rico Gathers.
That's just how we do it. That's just our
Sick 'em Bears.
I don't know. That's our, that's just our fan base or whatever. But so Nathan Thomas, sure.
He lives in Little Elm now.
Nathan Thomas probably won't even take the jobs of the guys that we have, Bass and Hoffman. So Nathan gonna have to lift some weights, and we'll see when we get to camp.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is what did he do with this off season? What did he do? Was he living in the weight room? Was he getting stronger? Was he getting more flexible? Was he getting more quick-footed? These are things. Yeah, there's you never know. This might be one of those unknowns that show up, or it then might be one of those guys that, the Cowboys picked, and all of a sudden he doesn't fit into what you're trying to do. He doesn't look athletic. He doesn't look strong. So there was some hope for him coming out of Louisiana when he was selected. But if you look at overall, though, him losing the year, he needs to. Hopefully, the strength staff got him to where he could at least be competitive in training camp this year.
But see, Kyle, this is another thing that I'm having problems with fighting people online. Why do we keep trying to patchwork the offensive line? You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Like we look at, all right, we have to upgrade from Jalen Tolbert and Brooks and all these guys, but we'll see what Nathan Thomas has. We'll try to squeeze Brock Hoppin and see everything. Why don't we look at offensive line the same way that we like, not like us, but we like them, right?
Yeah.
Like why don't we look at offensive line like we have to upgrade this? Like, why do we have to patchwork that?
Somebody asked me that in a DM, I think, this week, where they were talking about Zach Martin. Why does the show, as in the draft show, why do we just kind of anticipate Zach Martin not being there? It's because there's a good chance he's not there going into next year.
He even said he was a free agent,
Yeah,
so maybe somebody else would come along and make him an offer better than what the Cowboys were willing to do.
He's going to be probably a June 1 cut, just because of the void years at the end of all this and what that's going to play out. Don't be surprised if you look up June 1 and Zach Martin's getting cut. Doesn't mean he's not going to be here next year. That's just the conversation they have to have in the contract, that the way that it's structured moving forward. All right, Josh Weaver.
What up, Josh?
Pick your best 2-round options. We like doing these every once in a while on here. So first 2 rounds, we'll start it off with Ashton Jeanty, running back from Boise State. He's paired with Xavier Watts, safety from Notre Dame, which we're going to talk about in this next segment. Wow. That's the first option. Pretty good 1-2 punch. Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri, and Mason Graham slips to the second round, defensive tackle from Michigan. So there's your second option. And your third option is Kenneth Grant from Michigan, defensive tackle in the first round. And you've got Travion Henderson, the running back from Ohio State, that flips to the second round.
Kyle, I'm sorry. In one of his scenarios,
he robbed the bank.
Mason Graham fell to the second, but in the other, Kenny Grant
goes first.
Went first.
Yeah, I would flip those two.
I think Mason Graham would have had to done something worse than rob the bank. Falls the second round.
Yeah,
push the old lady down.
I would maybe say this, like, flip the 2 names probably.
Who was the name he paired with Graham?
Luther Burden.
Yeah, Burden.
Wide receiver, Missouri.
So let's go Burden like Harmon or something.
Would you take Harmon? I was going to go Nolan.
You know where I'm at with Nolan.
I'm the same way. I just want to see everybody else out strong. But Tommy, we've talked about.
I would do
some
Burden.
people.
I would
some
do
people love
Burden,
Nolan. Some people love Nolan more than me.
Yeah,
Nolan's a flash guy. He's a sometimes guy.
Okay, let's not do
so
Nolan.
falls. Oh, okay, well, falls to the 44. You still wouldn't feel good.
Well, it depends on who else is on my board, and that's my big thing, right? I don't hate Nolan. I just like Harmon much better. I like Grant better. I like Williams better. So it just depends on who's there. If Nolan is there, but those other guys aren't.
Let's say Williams, Harmon, and Nolan are all there.
I would rather Harmon.
Harmon out of Oregon.
And then Williams from Ohio State, and then I would take Nolan from Ole Miss.
Oh, so he's third on that list.
He's third on that list. He's my D tackle 5 or something. I've been seeing conversations where people talk
TJ Sanders,
him.
South Carolina.
TJ like third for me, so I would take Nolan over Sanders.
Okay.
But I've been seeing people talk about Nolan at 12, and I'm just like, what I'm missing? I'm like, what y'all looking at? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not here for that. If in case anybody at the table wanted to fight for Nolan at 12 or whatever, but
no, not that high. Yeah, no. If he's there at 44, then absolutely.
We can definitely talk about him at 44. I won't cry about it at
Walter
44.
Nolan's going to go in the first round. Somebody's going to take a chance.
He will. He will. And if that's the case, and this is a guy that, like Brian was talking about, if you like your guy, then go get him.
Go get him.
Then go get him. I don't think that's too rich for Nolan, for Barron, for really any of these guys. Yeah. But if he's there at 44 and you pick Luther Burden at 12, then that absolutely I would be happy with that.
Okay, so Jeanty and Watts, Burden, and let's say Nolan slips.
Go Campbell. Go the linebacker Campbell.
Jahad Campbell?
Yeah, go Campbell at 44.
In that Burden?
Yeah, go with Burden and Campbell as your number 2.
Okay, so Jeanty and Watts, Burden and Campbell, Grant and Henderson. Which one are you taking out of those 3?
I'm probably going Jeanty and Watts.
Yeah, I'm with Vach.
I love Watts.
Watts is a
safety
dog.
Safety from Notre Dame, and I love Jeanty too. So.
Okay.
So
so
that's 2 loves.
A blue chip guy.
I don't have to pout about nothing.
I'm shocked you didn't say Grant and Henderson, because you've got the high-end running back talent from from Henderson, but you shore up your defensive line, and that's kind
I was trying to think of what first-round grades I had, because Burden's a first-round grade on there. Some of the others, Jeanty's, of course, a first-round grade on. But I was trying to, if you told me I could take the last group, they'd be 2 second-round guys on my board.
Grant is a second-round guy.
Yeah,
He's
Grant
second
and Henderson would be second-round guys on my board.
Yep.
12 a little high for me for Grant, but I like the player though.
Ginty would be a first and a second, or Ginty
Watts
is
would be
the
a first
one.
and second.
Yeah, Watts would be a second for me.
Burton and Campbell would be a first and a second for me, and then the other ones would be a 2 and a 2.
Yeah, I think I would go Ginty and Watts in that mindset. Then try and find a receiver in the
telling you,
third.
man.
Ginty and Watts, that's my running back 1 and my safety 2, so I'd be pretty happy about that.
Okay, so which one are you going with, Broadus?
Man, I'm stuck because I really like Burton a lot, and I'll tell you what, Campbell will help you a lot at linebacker.
Yeah, that linebacker
and I don't know, in a draft where there's not many linebackers, you give me a shot. I love Walker Vach and I go round and round about Walker. But I think if you threw Campbell in there, I might go with Burton and Campbell just because I know that it would fill two very needy positions for me.
Yeah. It's interesting either way. And if you do Burton and Campbell, you shore up the second level of your defense. You get yourself a number 2 wide receiver, really a 1B at wide receiver, and then you can maybe get a running back in the third. One of those other guys falls.
Where do you guys stand
back.
on Campbell? Where do you guys stand on Campbell?
I've got a second on him.
Second best. He's the best linebacker in the draft for me. And I got him in the second round.
He would be the best, like, true linebacker, because I still have Walker listed as a linebacker.
Though, Kyle?
I have Walker as a linebacker, but I think it's because of the off-ball edge, that kind of thing. I get it. Some people see him differently.
Campbell's the best linebacker, huh, Kyle?
Yeah, he's the best.
It's okay, man.
Yeah. But he's a second round.
Don't let him do that.
Second round.
Kyle. If you don't feel like Walker's the best linebacker,
because Campbell can drop back in coverage. Campbell can run sideline to sideline.
Walker will be number 1.
Vach is going to die on this hill on Walker. Let's just split
that he's an edge.
Yeah, let's be real honest.
Walker is an edge. Walker's not a linebacker. Walker can't cover. I don't want Walker covering nobody for me.
He can cover. He
can cover just fine.
I don't want Jalen Walker in the league. You kidding?
He'll be fine.
I would rather have.
He's as athletic as anybody at that linebacker.
But see this.
spot.
But this. I don't want fine if I'm drafting him where y'all telling me I got to draft him at. I want Ken cover. I know Jahad Campbell can cover. I don't think Jalen Walker is that kind of cover guy.
Jahad Campbell's a middle linebacker. Walker is an outside linebacker.
Understood.
They both have the words linebacker in them. So I'm going to put Walker as the number 1 linebacker.
If we're using words linebacker and not using words edge, then I'm putting linebacker responsibilities on Jalen Walker. I think he's a great. I think Jalen.
You think
Walker,
he's an edge?
I think he's an edge.
That's what
I think his best.
See,
plays
that's his
are
argument.
Moving forward.
He thinks he's an edge.
His best players are moving forward.
Yeah.
Spy and all that kind of stuff. That's cool, but I think moving backwards.
He'll tell you he's a third round edge, is what he'll tell you though too.
I don't say it. Well,
is he a third round edge?
He's a second
round edge. He's a first round linebacker.
He will tell you. This guy will tell you he's like, I don't know, man. I'm kind of looking at all these edges right now, Broadus, and you know what?
I'll use it.
That Boston College kid is looking really good to me right now, and you know that kid Kennard at South Carolina. I kind of feel like that.
You're not going to punk me out on the draft show. You're not going to punk me. What I'm saying is, if
Kyle Kennard from South Carolina,
he's better. If Jalen Walker,
oh, here we go. He's going to put him right where he is.
If Jalen Walker is an edge for me, and I don't think of him as a linebacker, I think he disappears as a linebacker. I think I get sleepy and tired when he's a linebacker. But he makes explosive plays at edge, especially versus Texas. Right, that's his best.
That's
his best.
Just take that.
Show me the rest of the game.
Took over the game.
But show me the rest of the games where he going crazy. But that's cool though. If he's only an edge for me, I'm putting him versus Mike Green. I think Mike Green's a better pure edge than him. I'm putting him versus Pierce, Tennessee. I think Pierce is a better pure edge than him.
Then maybe you should put him at linebacker.
I like he's worse than he's a 4th round linebacker for me. Schlesinger is a better linebacker than Jalen Walker.
Well, Kyle, take us to break.
Yeah, we're running over time.
Y'all don't scare me.
For Vach Lombardi.
Tom, you had something? Oh, Tom had something.
I was just going to say that I think Walker's best ability is rushing the passer.
It is.
Because he's an edge, right, Tommy? Tommy, he's an edge.
Tommy,
right?
you don't
Speak
have
up,
to. Tommy, don't you
Look
don't
in the
have
camera.
to.
Look in
You
this
don't
camera
have
right
to.
here.
Tommy,
He's an
don't
edge,
you?
right?
He is best as a pass rusher.
Tommy, if you
but he
ride the
can
fence, I'm going to punch
He's not
you.
riding the fence. He's dead.
He's going
Tommy,
to ride.
tell me
He's about to ride the fence.
Brian, be quiet.
I've seen this before.
Brian, be
He's about to
quiet.
ride the
Brian,
fence.
let him talk.
Hold on.
Tommy, tell him.
I lean linebacker just because there are some reps that he takes at edge.
Well, you being phony
now. No, I'm with you that his best ability is the ability to rush the passer, but he can do things at linebacker. Like in that Texas game, when you watch him spy, he does things well. He sees the field well, but he is at his best moving north and south instead of east and west.
Eagleton called my phone personally and told me don't lie on this show. That's what he told me.
Yeah.
Tommy, did he text you the same thing that he texted me? Because you're lying on the daggum show.
I'm not lying.
Kyle, go to break.
All right, we're going to break. When we come back here on the Draft Show, it's time for a little Tell Me More. Mr. Walker is a linebacker. When we come back here on, I almost said Talking Cowboys. I'm a little flustered now. Draft Show.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. That, along with all our other favorite Tyson Foods products, sure make game day special. Score some delicious Tyson Cowboys Nuggets and become a game day star, just like our Cowboys. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Back here on the Draft Show, coming out to AT&T Stadium February 22nd for the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship Series. Watch the world's best two-wheel racers converge for one night of nonstop action. Enjoy unprecedented access to the sport's biggest stars with an up-close view of their race bikes and their team rigs at FanFest. Tickets are on sale now at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing partner of AT&T Stadium. The Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. Brian Broaddus, Tommy Yarish, Vach Lombardi. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us here on this Thursday, 70 days away. And I want to kind of hit some of the names that some draft boards have high on the list, whether there's first, second, third round guys across the board that we've maybe talked about once or twice, but haven't given a true scouting report on them just yet. And so it's a time for a little bit of Tell Me More. And
can I lead with the guy then real quick on that, please?
Of course. Yeah, which one you want to start with?
You guys tell me some more about my guy, the guard tackle from Ohio State. What you think about Donovan Jackson?
Okay.
Donovan is a powerful guard, I would say. he can get movement in the run game. I think he has some pretty good pass sets. And when our guy Josh got hurt, he moved out the left tackle and he played against Penn State, and Abdul Carter beat the hell out of him. But towards the end of his campaign or whatever, postseason, he put together some really good tackle tape. So now that boosts him up the board for me because he does both guard and tackle things. Right. If he has any issues or whatever, it may be him losing his balance because he's trying to whoop people so bad, right? He may end up on the ground sometimes just kind of losing that. But what the hell is coaching for, Brian, bro?
Right.
So I have
in the works on that.
Yes, sir. I got my guy Donovan Jackson in the second round as a guard, and I got him behind Booker from Alabama.
I was going to ask you that. Tommy, you got this guy?
I think Vach hit the nail right on the head. He's a Houston Episcopal guy, so Texas cat, 5-star prospect, I think, coming out of high school. I think he's a better guard, but like Vach said, put together some really good tackle tape after Abdul Carter had his number with him. So that versatility is going to be something that helps him along in the process, but I think he's better as a guard, really good in the run game, and then he can hold his own in pass sets too. Strong base, just kind of strong in general. You rarely see him moving back unless it's number 11 in blue and white on the other side.
Played a lot of good dudes too, Brian.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was wondering, would you take him at 44?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because do you think? Because see, I have him over Booker.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I have him over Booker.
Booker from Alabama, by the way.
I hate your reasonings for it, though, right?
Because, why do you have him there?
Because he likes the guys that can play guard and tackle more. But I'm like, if they're just a guard, I think Booker's better just as a guard. But you like Donovan more as a player.
Yeah.
Because he can do both.
He showed me that he can do more than just play guard. And I think there's something to that. If you're blocking, you said it yourself.
Yeah.
If you're blocking good dudes at the end and you're blocking them at tackle, and that's really not your natural position.
Sure.
Because I've watched this Tyler Smith kind of do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So, I think the flexibility is, and I'm usually not this, when you say position flex to me, I used to think it was a cool thing.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, it means you don't play anything really, really well. I think he could play both of them well. And it's kind of intriguing to me that way. So, and I don't know if I could do that with Booker at Alabama. And Booker's a hell of a player.
I don't think you want to do it with Booker because he has been so good.
No, but I'm saying Booker is a hell of a guard.
Yeah.
And if you had Booker, you'd be damn happy to have him. I just think there's a little bit more to Jackson's game than Booker's game.
So, Brian, let me ask you this. So, if you were to draft Jackson, right?
Yeah.
And you like him as a tackle, is there a world where he's competing with your tackles, or are you only putting him at tackle if it's an emergency?
Okay, I see what you're doing here because you want me to – I would play him at guard.
Okay.
But I would also know in my mind that if my health of my offensive line is not good –
If it got bad, play him at tackle.
If it got bad, because I give me a little bit flexibility there. If you told me that both of my guards have the capability of playing tackle, one playing left tackle, one playing right tackle –
Sure.
I think I'm feeling a little bit better about my offensive line.
Is that a change in your mentality since, let's say, before the Tyler Smith era? Has he changed your mind in that regard at all, or have you always kind of both?
I think you have to, if you're looking at these kids, you have to give them credit. If they show you that they could play at a high level, you have to acknowledge that.
Sure.
And it makes me even want you more if you're able to go out there and, like, in the middle of a game, all of a sudden we've dressed 8 guys and now we lose our tackle in the game. And so, boom, we're kicking you outside and we're not falling apart. So I think you have to acknowledge that. And that's what I'm doing with this player. And guys, listen, I love Booker. I really, really do. I think there's something about Donovan Jackson's game that's very, very appealing to me. The flexibility, but the fact that he can play both spots pretty well, and I'm all for that.
Is there anybody that you have above Jackson at guard?
Banks.
Okay, you move. Banks inside,
there's people that think Banks
same kind of thing.
There's people that think that Banks is a tackle, and I totally, I could totally understand that.
I think I have him.
But the later I started watching Banks, I was kind of some of these games, the playoff games, and Tommy, you're going to tell me then he's banged up, he had an ankle problem, But I saw some of those games at the end where he was struggling a little bit more. And a little bit more on the edge and a little bit more in space. And that would kind of led me to believe maybe if you can find the space of what he plays in, he might even be a better player there.
But I think it kind of goes to the same conversation with Jackson, to where if he's a player where you feel like you can do both with, then I mean, you trot him out at tackle, and if that doesn't work, see how guard works. I think he's versatile enough to where he hasn't played guard in his time at Texas, but if you called upon him to do that, he could certainly do it. I mean, he's one of the more athletic guys in this class. I think he's the most athletic tackle in this class. And, that ability to move and the strength that he's got, he's great in the run game. You can use him in pulls and pins and schemes like that. So
which they're going to do.
Yeah. So if that's a good scheme fit, which I think he would be, then that's another guy similar to Jackson where you can kind of see what works best for him, and he can be a valuable piece.
While we're on the subject of interior offensive linemen, how about Tate Ratledge, Georgia? Tell me a little bit more about what you've seen. 6'6", 320 pounds, originally out of Rome, Georgia.
Yeah, I think when he's healthy, he's a mauler, and he's excellent in the run game. Great hand placement, kind of controls those interior defensive tackles to make rushing lanes for his guys. And obviously Georgia with Trevor Etienne had a great running game this year. Good in pass protection too. I think he does a good job picking up stunts. That's what popped out to me the most about him. He's a smart player. He knows when guys are coming, and he's able to pass guys off to other people when he sees those delayed pressures or those stunts coming in. So he's athletic enough to be out in space, can get downfield as a blocker. They ran a lot of screen games from some of the games that I watched. I watched the 2 games against Texas, and then later on in the season too, I think it was did they play LSU this year? Was it LSU that I watched? No. Okay. So
it was Ole Miss.
I'm blanking. There you go. Thank you, Bob.
Walter Nolan.
Yeah.
Yes. So the thing is, it's the big question mark there is when healthy. He had a rope surgery earlier this year, so he missed a couple of games.
Yeah. What do you think about him?
Tommy got him. Yeah. Tommy is now. When I was watching Ole Miss is competitive, man. They got some dudes up there, and boy, Jared Ivey got him real good one time. And that was the first game I watched. I was like, man, does he have a problem with quicker tackles or anything like that? But nah. Just Ivey just got him. But very strong dude, mauler dude, competitive dude. I think he moves decent, but I don't want to put him in that conversation like Donovan as a mover, like Booker as a mover. Yeah. But he can move well enough. I got him in the third.
Okay, third round.
Third round too. I think the problem when he misses with his hands, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, he is because he's
knocked
not.
Backwards.
Yeah. He doesn't have the. I don't think he has the true athletic ability to recover that way. There's some guys that you'll see them miss with their hands. They get outside, but they're kind of scrambling with their feet and their footwork and all that. I just think to me that he's predominantly played in an inside zone gap scheme.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how he plays. It's. But the stuff with the outside, I know we talk about pin and pulls and things like that. I just don't see a guy that's capable of playing like that. I mean, you see him sometimes with the down blocks and things. That's fine. Shield guy's fine. But when they asked him to do stuff like pick up or outside, be in space, it kind of was a little bit struggle. I watched the Southeastern Conference Championship game, Notre Dame. He kind of got exposed against Notre Dame a little bit this way, but because I see this guy, he's 6'6", he's 320, his pad level gets way up.
So tall, yep.
And then when he gets way up, I think there's some problems to his game.
You mentioned Jahad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama, in the last segment.
Yeah.
You wanted to put him in the second round in one of those scenarios. Tell me more about Jahad Campbell.
Yeah, I think with Campbell, I really I like this kid a lot. The length, the size. I got him measured at 6'3", 245. I don't know if there's been an update on that.
I don't think so.
But he's got really good instincts. He's got toughness. He lines up all over the place. I mean, you'll see him inside. You'll see him outside. He's versatile in that way. I think he does a really good job of reading the play, following the flow, and then with the offense, and then getting in on the tackle. There's some things with him with the range that's good, the lateral quickness, the sideline to sideline stuff. He could set the edge with some strength. He's got some pop in his hands, forcing the run back inside to his teammates, with that way. He had an interception in the Georgia game I was watching. So he has an understanding where he needs to fit by reading the quarterback and then getting in on the play that way. So the length presents a problem with him, well, not for him, but for receivers and coverage. And he could be a good blitzer, too. So the size and the power, you got to like a kid that's 6'3", 245. And he wears the number 11, too, for Alabama. So that'll get you something you can think about.
Looks pretty big up there, too. He was top 5 in the SEC in total tackles.
Yeah.
And his tackling wasn't the best quality that he had either. Yeah. Like I said, or like you said, I like it when he can play downhill. He can get in the backfield. Yeah. He was a good blitzer, was very under control when he was running downhill, but then he would break back in coverage. Made a play in the Auburn game that I was calling earlier in the year, that where he jumped back and I didn't even see him over the middle of the field. I think it was Lambert Smith was the intended target, and he got a hand on the football, breaking backwards. He's got some athleticism and some range.
Active hands is one of the things that I put down when I watched him, because I was watching the LSU game when he's sacking Garrett Nussmeier. In the process of sacking him, he smacks the ball out and gets a fumble. So no, his versatility is what makes me like Jahad Campbell so much. I've got a second on him. He can do so much for you as a pass rusher on the outside when you send him on these blitzes. Conversely, in the run game, he sets the edge really well. He's commanded the middle. I'm pretty sure he wore the green dot for Alabama these last couple of years in the middle of that defense. But when he drops back into coverage, I think he's solid. He reads the defense well. There are some times where in the run game he overcommits or he takes a false step, and that catches him a little bit. And there's at times too where if offensive linemen or better blocking tight ends get their hands on him, he gets overpowered, I feel like, and just gets kind of thrown out of the equation. But for the most part, this is a player who I feel like is going to translate really well.
Yeah, I have a second on him, but I wonder if he tests really, really well, like I think he's going to do. Like would he go late first or something?
Yeah,
possibility.
I could see it. Yeah.
I'm thinking, and plus this linebacker class is not great, so there's no wait until later to get a linebacker. I think Campbell probably goes late first, late teens, 20s or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. All right, tell me about Marion Hampton, running back from North Carolina. One last one before we get out of here.
DeMarco Murray, huh, Brian?
DeMarco Murray. That's who that is.
I like that.
Runner, blocker, catcher. He's my running back 2, and he's my running back 2 over Johnson because the blocking, right?
I put James Conner, so that's interesting that you put Murray there.
Same thing.
Yeah, but because he's a big bruiser who can catch out of the backfield.
Thumping, whooping, catching, big play. And, you wouldn't categorize him as like a speedy guy, but he breaks over that open field. And look, good job, or, good luck tackling him, right? Like he's thumping at all levels. He's running linebackers over. He's running D linemen over. And I'm just watching him like, hey, goal line, please. Good luck to you. So Hampton's a guy. I love him, man. And I have a real fear that he's going to be gone before the Cowboys get back to 44. I think somebody like 38 going to take him.
I think so too. I think he's right around late 30s. That's where I've got him as an early second.
I got a fear, man. Yeah. So,
what do you think, Brian?
This guy plays with a burst. And, I mean, he tends to get the ball from a stationary position out of the shotgun, and then he starts downhill. And he does a really good job of getting to and through the hole. The vision, the creativity to navigate through the defense. I think the pad level, the balance, that's what I kind of saw when you watch him. He looks like DeMarco Murray. Like I say, he kind of runs like him, that kind of style. Hard to knock off his feet. He keeps his momentum going forward. He could finish runs, contact balance, power to run through arm tackles, put a foot in the ground, make a read, boom, go. Zone runner. It's not going to make you miss a lot, but there are snaps where he broke in the open field and was run down. I worry about that. We saw that a little bit from DeMarco Murray at times as well, but he does a great job of catching the football. He's quick to take a pass, then get up the field. He could pass protect too. He's got some pop to his game. So his running style, like I say, it tends to be a little upright. Not going to blow you away with his speed. Very steady, very productive type of guy that wears you down when you hand him the football.
Okay.
Yeah, he's my RB3 behind Genty and Johnson. Bulldozer is what I wrote down for him. I mean, in pass pro and in the run game, this is a guy who's going to set the tone for you coming out of the backfield. Chips, pass protection. He's excellent, and I think these guys hit the nail on the head in terms of speed. It's not breakaway speed. It's not. I still, my mind goes back to that Quinshot Judkins breakaway run in the national championship game where he kind of gets hawked down. I think that if that's a Marion Hampton in that situation, he's going to score. Yeah. So, it's plenty serviceable, and I think that it's definitely something that you can work with. But the only knock that I had on him is sometimes he gets a little bit too patient in trying to let plays develop. I don't know if you guys caught that as well, and sometimes it comes back to bite him. But I don't know. I don't know too much about North Carolina's offensive line either, so I don't know if that's a product of them. But good receiver out of the backfield, smart player, so I like him a lot.
I knocked his pass protection just a little bit, but it wasn't enough for me to be super concerned about it. I just put room to grow in pass protection. If it wasn't for Ashton Genty and what he did at Boise State over these last couple of years, I think Hampton would be a household name because of what
I think you need to know about Johnson from Iowa, though. Too.
He's fantastic. Yeah. Caleb Johnson's another name that we haven't necessarily touched on a whole lot.
There's some good backs in this draft.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know Vach and I always talk about, Harvey from Central Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, he might not be everybody's cup of tea, but watch him play. Kid's impressive.
No doubt. All right, that does it for us here on the Draft Show. Hope you had some fun with this or with us this week as we break down whether or not Mr. Walker from Georgia is a linebacker or an edge rusher. We'll talk about it again on Tuesday.
Tell us in the chat
if he's an edge rusher or a linebacker. For Tommy Arish, Brian Broaddus, Vach Lombardi, Jasmine Marshall in the back, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Draft Show. We will see you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!